Hi, thank you very much for tuning in. Today we are back on Rethinking Beliefs. I'm always excited to have the opportunity to talk to you guys. Friday night we pray, and then on Saturday we meet to talk about the Bible and all the questions that we have. I know one of the things that most of you have questions on is on the subject of money. Often when you hear pastors talking about money, your assumption is that, well, maybe we are going to get your money or convince you to give more of your money, and all that. But today I'll try and do two things. One, I will convince you that on how we can make money, how we can understand money, and how the blessings of God can show up in the resources that we have, in the monies that we have. And number two, I will convince you on how we can manage our money. It's so important. I think when you look at the subject of money, considering how money is so important to almost everything and every endeavor of our society as people, you would think that Jesus will spend a whole lot of time trying to talk to people about money and, convincing people or, telling them why they should make more so that the kingdom of God will advance like we do today in the church, right? Because a lot of people think that especially tithing and offering are under attack, and it means that the resources for the kingdom on earth are under attack. So we spend a lot of time trying to convince people, you should not do it. So you would think that Jesus's perspective on the subject of money, or Jesus's words when it comes to the subject of money, will be something that people even pay more attention to. Like what Jesus says in Matthew 23, verse number 23, he says to them, "Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrite, you give a tenth of your spices, mint, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness." So you see Jesus, coming at the scholars and coming at the teachers of the law, and the Pharisees, that you think you're righteous because you do all of these kind of things, and because you give your tenth, you give a tithe. You think that's the most important thing, but you have neglected the more important matters of the law, that is justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So Jesus, brings to them a very different perspective of life, that all that matters in life is not just, the money we have and what we bring to God, but justice, mercy, and faithfulness. So I'm going to try seriously to convince you on some of these things, these two important things, how we can make money, how we can understand from a biblical perspective, and how we can also manage our resources. And I do hope that you stay with us throughout, and I do hope this really becomes a blessing to you. So now, first, let's look at the subject of money. What did Jesus talk about or say when it comes to money? And what did Jesus, say when it comes to making more of it, or Jesus say when it comes to having more of it or loving it? In Matthew chapter 6, verse number 24, Jesus says to them, "No one can serve two masters." Right? He says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the other or love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Now, Jesus kind of has had a very interesting perspective on money, seeing that he himself had to pay tax, and he had to ask Peter, to throw the hook, and then he will catch a fish, and then he takes this from his mouth. Jesus had a very strong perspective on money, very strong. He says to them that you cannot love money and God. Now, this is something that is kind of odd and weird to hear. Why can't we love God and then love money? Like, a lot of us want to hide behind, that feeling, that thing that we have when it comes to money. And then we want to say, well, there is no, money is important, and you can love God, but you don't necessarily have to do the deeds that, some people chasing money do, like Paul told Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. But Jesus' perspective on money and his teaching on money is that you cannot love, God and money. You cannot serve two masters. You either hate one and then you will love the other, or you'll be devoted to one and despise the other. So Jesus' concern is where our love is and where our devotion is. And he says, pick God. be devoted to God, love God. If you love money, then you will be devoted to money, and then you will despise God. And many people, like we see today, many people coming against like giving, and tithing and all those kind of things. It's because of where their love is. It's because of where their devotion is. It's not really because all the things that the church is doing is wrong and all that, but it's just because of where their love is and where their devotion is. Now, but does that in any way mean that God doesn't want us to make money? No. As a matter of fact, Jesus gives the most profound, probably the most powerful statement when it comes to how we can make it, especially if, and the context of which we placed it is something that many people neglect and don't realize, because Jesus talked about more of it. And often we use it to talk or teach people more about leadership more than we use it to teach people about how God wants us to live. Now, Jesus tells them that the greatest among you must serve. He says, the greatest among you must serve. They are wondering who will be the greatest in the kingdom. And then Jesus tells them that the greatest must serve. The greatest must be a servant. And people use this to control human action. Sometimes we use this because we want people to serve us and do some things. And so we say, well, the greatest must serve. And so people must become servants. Or we tell people, even leaders, that they must be servant leadership. But Jesus' teaching on that had nothing really to do with leadership necessarily. Jesus was telling them about a principle in the kingdom of God that cannot be denied, which is a principle of service. Is a principle of serving. The word serving is like providing service to someone. Providing service to someone. It means that you are meeting a need of someone. So in the olden days, there was the master and then the slave. So what a slave would do is to be at the beck and call of the master. So whatever the master needs, the slave will provide, right? And whatever the master sends the slave to do, the slave will provide. That was what service was about. That was what service was. So Jesus was telling them that this is what the world does, because the master will require the slave to meet his needs. The master will require a slave to meet his needs. Remember, Jesus talked about which of you having a slave or a servant, will come home and say, well, I'm comfortable and I'm okay, or maybe I'm tired and you are also tired, so rest, and enjoy. Will you not tell the servant to serve you to meet your need? So service is about meeting the need of others. Service is about meeting the needs of others. That's the principle of the kingdom. The kingdom principle is not about prayer when it comes to greatest. Jesus didn't say the greatest among you must pray 5,000 years or 10,000 hours. He didn't say the greatest among you must probably climb the tallest mountain and do all those kind of things and pray for hours and pray and pray and pray. That's not what Jesus said. He says the greatest among you must serve. Greatness is in service. And I'll teach you how this is linked to money. Greatness is in service. Is in service. Which of you, having a servant, will not say when you have come home that serve me, hurry up, serve me? It means meet my need, meet the need that is current, that is present right now. And when Jesus talked to them like that, he was changing the mindset of the believer to think about service. So Jesus was not talking about work, like in terms of what we do, our career or the businesses that we have, but he was talking about the general lifestyle of the believer. The believer is supposed to serve. There's nothing more than that. The believer is supposed to serve. That is what greatness is about. Those in the kingdom that will not be great are those who don't serve. In fact, when we bring it to the worldly context, those that are poor are those that don't serve. And I'll teach you why this is so. So let me take you back to the whole concept of money. At some point in human existence, there was nothing like money. There was absolutely nothing like money. There was no cedi, there was no dollar, there was no pounds, there was no euro. There was nothing like money. The only thing that existed was trade, what we call the barter system of trade. Now, what that means is that human beings were multiplied. In fact, if you look at Cain and Abel, Cain was someone who was, the Bible says that he was tilling the land, and Abel was a hunter, sort of. So Abel will go to the bush, Cain will go to the farm, and he will till the land. Abel will go to the bush, and then he will go and find a meat, and then he will bring the meat. Now, it was a system that they lived by. So everybody will try and find something. It's a good, either you had a good or you had a service. And then they will look for somebody who has a need for what they have, and also have what they want. So two things. One, you want to see, well, which of these people have a need for what I have? And number two, which of them have what I need? So it was my need and your need. So I want, let's say I am a farmer. It means that I have, let's say, a plantation, right? So I take from my farm, but then I need meat. So I come to you guys and I say to you, okay, you know what? I need meat. Can you give me some of your meat? And then you will say, okay, you also went to the farm to hunt. So you pick your meat and then you say, okay, you need meat. So I will give you meat, but can you give me your farm produce? That's how human beings lived. In fact, that's how God created us to live. We picked from that which God had given us, and from the giftings that we have and the skill set that we had, and then we exchanged that. That was trade. We exchanged it among ourselves. That was trade. So when I pick something from the land, I go looking for who needs it, and then who has what I also need. Now, in economics, they call that double coincidence of want. And it was a huge problem, because look at the number of people on earth. If every one of us live by the same system where we have to find something, so we have a good or we have a service, and then we go to the market or we look for who is in need of what I have and who has what I need, that would be very problematic, right? So at that time, there were people that were keeping valuable things with blacksmith, and they will have this thing that they will write on them. So like, for instance, you take gold, and then when you go to you take the gold to the blacksmith, you want them to store the gold for you. And then they will imprint on the gold the weight. So the weight of the gold was literally the value of the gold, right? So if it is this size or this weight, then they put it on it. So it had a real value. It didn't have, like, it's not what we have fiat money today. It was real value. So the gold you have is gold. Real gold is what you use to spend. And that was not even for spending, but it was to show that you had something. So they will give you kind of a receipt, and then that will prove that you had something with a blacksmith. You have these resources. So like the way we have banking system, that was how it was at that time. So they go there, and then they will have this kind of thing, and then they will provide it. So if I go to someone who has, let's say, cassava, and I want cassava, I show him that, okay, I have this thing with the blacksmith or whoever was keeping my valuables, and then this is the value of that. And the person says, okay, give me this portion of that thing you have. And later people realize that could become a system that we all can live with. So instead of looking for someone who has a need of what you have and has what you need, you don't need to do that. You just need to just sell whatever you have for money. Right? Sell it for a paper, something that is called a legal tender. We all recognize, and then you have it. So that thing that you have is a value of the good or the service that you had, or the service or the good that you provided. It was just giving value to things. So in economics, they say money is a measure of value. It was to help us to measure value. Another thing that was also crucial was, how can I defer payment? So I'm taking something from someone, but let's say my produce are not, I don't have a harvest yet. But how do I take this and say I will pay later? It was a challenge. So how do we defer payment? That money came in. So when money comes in, I can be able to defer payment. I can say, well, well, this thing that I'm giving to you is worth 5,000 kilos. And that 5,000 kilos means that it's 2,000. And 2,000 means that you have to pay me 2,000 when your harvest is near. So money helps us to be able to defer, or it became a standard for deferred payment. It became a measure of value, and then it helped us to also store value. So the value I have, I can now store it. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I'm telling you, because I am tired of seeing a lot of Christians walk in so much ignorance and being slave to money when we are not supposed to. Like Jesus says in Matthew chapter 6, he says, there is no one who can devote themselves to these two and be able to, serve the other. You serve God or you serve money. But when you understand money, you don't need to devote yourself to God and money or choose who. No, you don't have to. You can literally serve God and devote yourself to God, and you will not have to serve money. One thing that one great mentor I have, he says that you want to own money, you don't want money to own you. So Jesus says you cannot serve both God and money. You must serve one. So it is about service. You cannot serve God and money. So if we cannot serve money, then what can we serve? God. And what did Jesus say? Jesus said you must serve these ones. The greatest among you must serve. Serve these ones. Serve these brothers. Serve them. Because that's how you serve God. You serve God by serving the people He is sending you to, the people that are around you, in the name of God, by sending. So Paul actually taught them that don't do anything for your human masters. He says, do everything. It doesn't mean that they are not valuable. He's saying that the way you think about work must change. That your service, what you say, I'm going to work. This is why many Christians go to work and they go and sleep. They don't think of work as service. They think cleaning in the church is what service is about. They think that going to clean their pastor's shoe is what service is about. That's a lie. Service is what your job is providing to other people. Service is what your bank is providing to other people. That's why we call it banking service. That is why we call it military service. That is what work is. Work is our service. Jesus says you cannot serve money and then you cannot serve God. So where does money come from? That's what we are talking about. So from the barter system, we realize all these challenges. Double coincidence of want. There is a problem with deferring payment. There is a problem of storing value. There is a problem with measuring value. So we decided that we all will accept a legal tender. And in every country, you find different legal tender. So in America, they say that this is dollar. Or maybe other countries will even say, well, we adopt America's money, and then they stick with it. So legal tender is what money is. But money allows us, because it's generally accepted, legally accepted. You cannot reject it just because if somebody brought you $1 today and then he said, I'm buying, let's say, something, you cannot say, well, I can't wait, because it's generally accepted. When you accept that, wherever you take that $1, you can be able to buy something with it. So now that we understand how money was introduced into the system, how do we make it? The same way people had value, because you remember, the money is a measure of value before it becomes a store of value, because before it becomes and it's a medium of exchange, right? So how do we make that money? If money is a medium of exchange and is a measure of value, we make it by having value. It's as simple as that. By providing value. And if we want to make more of it, we need to be able to exchange that value with more people. That's how we make money. That's the first thing you need to understand as a believer when it comes to money. You don't make money by slipping in a check for $5,000. In fact, if God is going to bless you with money, how God is going to do it is to make you valuable, to give you something of value. That or whatever you have, it can even be a good that God will make that which you have favored in a way that many more people can have it. That's how God bless people. It can even be sugar that someone is selling. The more people are buying sugar from you, that means that more money is coming to you. It can be a gift you have. It can be a talent, a unique talent. It can be a skill that you have. It could be ideas. We'll talk about how you monetize that and why many people still have this, but they're still broke. But the most important thing that a believer must understand is that everything rests in service. If you have it, you don't serve people with it, you get nothing. You will never be great. If you don't serve, you will never be great. And if you don't serve, you will never be great. How many of you have gone to probably a restaurant that is maybe owned by a Christian, and the place is smelling, stinking? The place is not kept well. You order food, 2 hours, the food has not come. And then you go there again, it's just because the person is a Christian. You will not, because the service is poor. Poor service makes people poor. No service makes people poor. That's the simple thing. Don't go chasing any pastor and praying that God take me from poverty and do all kinds of things. God will take you from poverty by making you valuable, giving you something of value, or turning that little thing that you have in your hand into something that can feed. Remember, when Jesus wanted to feed the people, what did he say? He said, "What do you have?" He said, "We have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes." He said, "Okay, fine, I can do something with it." He multiplied it. Jesus was teaching something about supply. Why didn't Jesus call manna from heaven? It's because Jesus deliberately, and I'm not saying God can't do that. God can't give money. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm very careful to put any, cant on God. I know God is God. He can do whatever he wants to do. But I'm telling you, by the wisdom of God, how you do this is to treat your work differently and treat your talent differently and treat the things that you have differently. You come back to the place of value. How can I put value on myself, and how can I provide value in whatever I'm doing, and how can I exchange that value? 2 key principles. How do I provide it, and how do I exchange it? Because money measures the value, and money becomes a medium of exchange. How do I provide the value, and how do I exchange it? For many people, they can start by saying, okay, well, how do I provide the value? Well, in myself, I cannot provide this kind of value, but I can join a team who is providing that service. That is what we call job. And this is for my friends in Ghana. Job. I don't have a job. What do you think job is? They're providing service, and you want to join them to provide that service. Unfortunately, you think that a job is that people are paying money. They're giving, I don't have a job, that's why I'm broke. No, you don't. It's not because you don't have a job. Because you have no knowledge of what is even happening in the world. That's why you're broke. And that is why we all continue to be broke. All of us, including myself. Because the way we treat life is that we cannot even think of life from the perspective of service. We think that when Jesus says the greatest must serve, he was talking to leaders. All these leaders, our leaders, they don't serve. Do you serve? What kind of service do you provide? Well, even at your workplace, what contribution do you have to the service that your work provides? That would determine the greatest value. Some people say, well, I'm not being promoted. The reason why you are not being promoted is because your contribution to the service in your work is small. It's intangible. Today, if your work wants to sack people, they're going to sack you. Because when they look at your contribution to the service, it's irrelevant. This is why a believer must strive for excellence. A believer must strive for excellence. You must excel. You must be exceptional in what you do. How do you do that? Knowledge. Paul told Timothy, study to show yourself approved unto God, a workman that needs not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the gospel of truth. He was not just talking to Timothy as a preacher. He's talking to all of us. You excel through knowledge. It means that when you have knowledge, you become valuable in the contribution you give, even at the workplace. You become valuable. That's how you see, there are some people that they cannot be sacked. They cannot be dispensed. They cannot be put away because of the value of them to the work. Why are they paying you? The same way they are paying you, it's the same thing that slave masters did. I'm not saying you're a slave, please. Don't get me wrong. But that's the same thing that slave masters did in the olden days. They took care of them. Even the slaves were taken care of. Even the slaves. So that they can do what? They can serve. They can serve. What about those who don't have a job? Oh, of course. Because the people who are in a job are providing service. So what service do you want to provide? It's not about going to beg. Even beggars, they are selling a story. I'm telling you, beggars are selling a story. If their stories are not bought, they get nothing. That's why people will fake all kinds of things. You know, those days, I remember my days, those days when I'm working in a crowd mall and somebody will come and the person has put something on their legs and I look at it, I'm like, they moved me. Sometimes I know that they're lying, but their story sells. I'm not saying you do the same thing, but the best way to have money is not begging. The best way to have money is not stealing. Paul says that this is why Paul says that every one of you must find something to do. Why? Because you are valuable. A Christian is valuable. A Christian has something that the world does not have. A Christian has a different understanding the world does not have. A Christian has a different perspective the world does not have. A Christian has the light of God. A Christian's contribution to the service that we provide must be exceptional because he has that excellent spirit. So how do we make this money? We make it by knowing how to provide value. By knowing how to provide value. How can I provide value? The skill you have, the talent you have, the knowledge you have, put it to work. Messi, look at the footballers. Why do you think they have money? They have money because the world puts value, places value on what they do. 20,000 people are coming to the stadium to watch every single day. Watch them play football. That's how they make money. If you play football in Ghana, you have nothing because Ghanaians don't put value on your football. You get no money. Oh, God wants me to play football. Oh, praise God. If God is going to bless you through your football, I tell you this, how God is going to do it is to position you or make sure that your gift is shining so that you'll be in a place that people put value on that. I'm telling you. You cannot be lazy. You can sleep on, you sleep 5,000 and say, God said, God said. You don't understand the way the world works. Walk with wisdom. If you want to know what Jesus really said, he said, serve. Get yourself together. Serve. It means that people must see that which you have, and people must recognize that which you have, and people must realize that it is important to them and it's of value to them. Then they can give you what you have. It's the same system like the barter system, except that now we can measure value. Now we can store value. Now we can defer payment. Now we don't need to look for who has what I need and who is in need of what I have. We don't need to do that. The issue of double coincidence of one is past. Africa is poor, my friends. Let me say that. Africa is poor because of our lack of understanding on how these things work. We just adopted things. We adopted money. And then we said, okay, they are using money. Let's do the same thing. They're establishing school. Let's also establish school. We don't understand what is even going on in the world. That's why the courses we do in Africa provides no value because it helps us to provide no value in the context of our society in Africa. No value. No value. When somebody goes to school to go and learn how to do filmmaking because he feels or she feels her talent is in acting, what the person is doing is to learn how to act better so that when a person appears on your screen, you are so moved by what they're doing that you want to pay money to watch. That's why we have no movie industry. It's all about value. And it's about the quality of the value. I will not pay money to anything that does not serve me in any way or doesn't serve any purpose in my life. The quality of it. When I'm watching a football and then the pitch is so bad, there is no way I'm paying money to come and watch. You can do all the things you want to do. And this is where advertisement and marketing comes in. For those of you who are starting businesses and you're thinking, how do I go through? There is no way, like I told you, you provide the value. And the second thing is to think about how we can exchange this value. It means that people, what in economics we call something demand. Demand is not that people just want it. But demand is that they want it and they have the ability to pay for it. They have the willingness and the ability to pay for it. That's demand. So Apple has demand because people have the willingness and the ability to pay for the iPhone. That's what it is. So when somebody is supplying something or whatever we are producing in terms of value, we must also have in mind the exchange. The people that we are exchanging this value to or with. This is why people aim to work in high level or top places or, great places. The reason why they aim to work there is because in those areas, there is a lot of stability, there is a lot of knowledge, there is a lot of investment that goes and priority that goes into the people that they are providing that service to. That's why they're doing that. That's why companies will train people so that they will provide quality service. You started a business. All you do is to sit on your Facebook and then you just read people and then you do all kinds of things. Well, and you said God is going to bless you because of what? Or you said because you spend 2 hours, God is going to bless you? If God is going to bless you, he's giving you wisdom. The Bible says that he has blessed us with all spiritual blessings. If you continue to walk in foolishness, you will have nothing. I'm telling you. And if you refuse to know how to serve people, I thought that when Jesus says the greatest must serve, people will ask, how do we serve? How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I serve with what I have? How can I serve with the gift God has given me? How can I offer the best out of me? I thought people would ask that. Yesterday, I read something. Do you know that the most watched views on YouTube are, I saw that the top 10, 5 of them are content that are produced for kids. The number 1 content, most streamed, over 8 billion views on YouTube, is a video that they call Baby Shark. For those of you who have children, you probably have seen the children. They like it. My son likes it. Baby Shark, do, baby. That video. Why? Because they saw that the kids, they want to have fun. And then they came together. I'm telling you, the people that sang it may not be the ones who edited the videos. They may not be the one who published them, but they came together. They came together, different giftings, they came together. How do we serve the kids in this generation? And then they did that. Coco Melon, they did it. The typical African youth will not come together and say, hey, my friend, you are gifted in this, you are gifted in that. Let's come together, let's pull something together and let's work. Let's provide a particular service. Even non-profit, the only way they run is because people give them. Else they will not be able to run. So when they begin to provide that service, then they begin to think, how do we exchange it? The reason why YouTube is worth billion is because YouTube provided a platform for exchange. Whenever you hear e-commerce is basically a platform for exchange. Amazon, a platform for exchange. People write books. They want to know how to get it to many people. Amazon says, we will create a platform so that they will have it. And then the buyers will also come. So then the buyers come in and they say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. The buyers find the books. Amazon says, okay, you sell the book, you give us a commission. Amazon is worth billion because the number of people you can provide this service to, remember, is about service, and the number of people you can provide that service to meet this need will determine how you have it. So the exchange becomes important. But in thinking of exchange, one of the things that a believer must also understand is how do we monetize our gift, our talent, and our service, or whatever good we have. How do we monetize it? Many people don't take the pain to think about how do we price things and whether we should even give it for free or not. Do you know why people place value on the things they pay for? Because money is a measure of value. So if they pay, nobody needs to tell you that they value it. If they paid not, then you would not know if they value it. You will never be able to tell if they value it. You have to give them the chance, and then probably if they take it or not. Then Harvard is a non-profit education. They have serious money in their endowment fund because people give to them, of course, but people pay fees. Even though they are not making profit, they still, because when people pay, you are able to assess how much value they place on it. If they don't pay, you can never really be able to. So we run an NGO. We can never really assess how people place value on it unless we give them time to see it. And then when we realize that people place value, we have to go to people who have the money and convince them that, well, this is the result we are making. And because NGOs are very important because they're great partners to development in society. So then they also come in because not everybody can afford. But ideally, the Christian must understand, how do I exchange it and how do I monetize this? How do I place value on this particular thing that I'm doing? That's why you are paid. When you work, what your workers, your employers are doing is that they assess the value, your contribution to the service that they are providing. So if you work at a firm that provides high value to many people, it means they make more money. It means you are paid more because your contribution in that place is significant. It's as simple as that. If you provide, if you work at a place where they are not selling more, you will never be able to be paid more. Nobody's going, where are they paying you? Where are they getting the money from? It's a simple system. It's a simple system. So how do we monetize what we have? Say, I can write. Fortunately for us, there are people that have created platforms that makes it easy for us to reach people. I get it. The challenge is, how do we convince many people to want or to need or to buy what we have? Advertisement and marketing. This is one of the things that everybody must learn. Sales, advertisement, and marketing. God is not going to send this from heaven. I'm telling you this. If God is going to bless you, the way God will bless you is this. That which you are provided, God will move people. He will favor you in a way that there is something about your good. There's something about your book. There's something about your video. Like, people cannot tell, but they just go there and then they are watching it. They watch it. It gives them value. They come back again. If they watch it, it gives no value to them. They will not come back. See, it's a simple system. You write a book, the book is not written well, it's not published well, the people will not come back. So you look for how to reach the people. That's why people are paying millions of money in art. Apple makes Google makes a lot of their money in art. Why do you think they make the art? They're making the art because, you see, these people decoded life. They decoded the way systems work. That's why these people are able to make money, because they decoded. They realized that this is the simple thing. The people and the people who need it. The people, and that's what the system, that's how God built it. God built us to be like him, like we talked about last week, to be a community. And as a community, there is a need for exchanging of goods and services. Amazon started by saying, well, what good can we focus on? Let's look at books. Other people are looking at meat. Other people are looking at songs, like Spotify. It's a simple system, guys. I know many of you are looking at me like, this guy is saying simple as though it's so simple, like you're just going to do it. I get it. I can tell you where the challenge is. The challenge is in how to provide it in a way that people want it, and how to be able to reach them, and how to be able to keep them and convince them. And I've told you, sales, advertisement, and marketing. After you have moved from the focus of providing quality good, quality service, this is one of the most important things, because that's the only way that makes you be able to exchange it. If you do not know that, there is no way you're going to make. How are you going to get the people? So spend money, reach out to people. Get out of your house. Go to the street. Even if it's cassava, there is somebody in Ghana who is wanting cassava. You see, many of us are poor because we are too big for service. I'm telling you, we are poor because we are too big for service. We are too big. Sometimes when I look at the youth, we are too big to serve. We are too big. It's like, why will I go to the street? Go to the street. Go to the street. Get them. Look for them. Go sell. Serve them. Take the cassava to them. Take the plantain to them. Take the mango. If you can come together as a team, program something that makes it easy for people to order it online. Because when you do that with technology, you are able to reach more people. More people can order, and then you can be able to find a way. Find a friend who is into distribution. Partner together. Work together. You cannot do this. I'm telling you this. You may be broke no matter how many times they lay hands on you. I'm not joking. Because whatever thing that they put their hands on you is a gift that is deposited in you. It must come out. No, but God will never wake up for anyone and work hard for anyone. He will never do it. And until a man learns to wake up and work hard, that person will continually be broke. Some people, and I'll talk about the pastors soon, because there are two kinds of services that we are providing. There are those that do this, and then there are those that are called by God to serve in his house. And many of us, especially in Christianity, are people that are extremely lazy. God has called us, God has gifted us, but there is absolutely nothing we do with the gift that God has placed in us. Books we are not writing, songs we are not writing. Sometimes you can see all these unbelievers, they sleep in the studio recording songs. Then you wonder, why is Shatawale having millions? Because he recorded a song for 3 minutes. Got many people excited and hooked on it. It's a simple, you can sing. Okay, if you place no value on the gift that you have to sing, who should place value on you? Me? No. If you can write and you place no value on the gift you have, who should place the value on it? Me? One thing I've learned is that nobody will place value on you more than the value you place on yourself. Have you ever seen anybody go to Apple shop and say, Apple, I want to buy iPhone for $5,000? Nobody's going to do it. That's what pricing is about. Pricing is the maker's way of, measuring the value of what he's done. So if I go in and it's 5,000, I'm going to buy it for 5,000. If it is not 5,000, I cannot buy it for 5,000. That's what pricing is about. This is where I was talking about monetizing what you have. You have a show, do the show, put in consistency, do it in such a way that people will come and pay. Let them pay for it. But why would they pay for it? The quality. The quality. And not even just the quality, how you convince them that this show is amazing. So you spend a lot of effort in the advertisement, spend a lot of effort in all those kind of things. Now, how does this also translate to those of you who are working? Put value on yourself. If you are working in a position today, that position is not, look at how much you are being paid. That should tell you how much they value what you have. If you think that your value is more than that, you need to find a way to add to your skill in order to be able to move from that position. Add to your skill, knowledge, and work so hard that you become valuable in order to move. That is why in any place, if they want to promote you, I'm telling you, 3 things that they are likely to look at: your experience. What have you done over the years? The knowledge you have. Sometimes they look at your qualification, but it's basically the knowledge you have. What kind of knowledge do you have? They will assess what knowledge, because they are all thinking of one thing. How do I make sure that this person I'm adding to my team can help us provide the service that we are providing? How do I make sure that can happen? So if you're looking for a job, maybe let me also talk to you. The simple way to do that is to make sure you understand the world like this. See the world in this frame. Okay, well, it's not just a job I'm looking at. I'm looking for. They are providing service. How am I going to contribute to that service? And make sure this guides the way you write your CV, the way you write your cover letters. Everything you are writing should sound convincing in a way that tells the employer that this is how you will actually contribute to this area that they are trying to find somebody for. If you don't do that, chances are that you will not get the job. No matter, see, I'm not saying that God will not favor you. I know God is going to favor you. But I can tell you this, even God sits in heaven and he smiles when you are serving in your best way. Because that's what he told us. Jesus says that the greatest must serve. That you are serving well. God is happy. Why would God give you something that he knows that you are not serving well? Why? I know that. I remember recently somebody was asking me about why wouldn't God let them pass exams? I said this to you, because you think of exam as a qualification. But the people that assess you in these exams are not trying to give you a qualification. They're not just trying to give you, okay, of course, they are giving you a qualification, but they're not just giving you a paper. It's not something you are passing. They are assessing your competency. That's what they are doing. That's what they are actually doing. They are assessing how much you have understood what they taught you. So think about it. You think God sits in heaven and then he just wants you not to understand it and then you pass. Is that what you think? Is that when you think about the wisdom of God, is that what you think? That you think God sits in heaven, that he wants every Christian, get a pass, whether you know it or not, get a pass. What kind of God is this? No, that's not how God wants. That's not how God is. God wants you to be exceptional in your service. So God will always make sure that you get it. Oh, so are you saying we don't have to pray? No, that's not what I said. We have to pray. Because there are many things that affect some things beyond what you can know and beyond even what you have written. So we pray. And we have to pray all the time for wisdom and knowledge. If anyone lack wisdom, let him pray. So we have to pray. Yes, we have to pray. But if you think that our prayer is so that God will exempt us, then you are funny. Then something is wrong with your thinking. God wants us to be exceptional in service. Hear me. If you don't take anything, he wants us to be exceptional in service, regardless of what we are providing, regardless of what we are doing, regardless of our area of work, whatever it is, whether we are selling beans, whether we are selling gari, whether we are selling rice, whether we are in a team of people at a company with what we call a job, providing a particular service. God wants us to be exceptional contributors of that service, or exceptional people that serve. Now let's move from how you price in these things. How can I also provide it more? That's where building yourself, building your capacity, teamwork, working with people, learning to convince people to join you, finding the talent. Some of us, 5 years, we have worked in the same work as one person. We will always be broke. I'm telling you. The reason is because one person cannot provide that much service. So think about, how do I expand? That is what we, in business terms, they call it making sure that your business is scalable. Scalable is making sure that your business can move from one size to the other so that you can be able to provide better service, more service, or, whether it's a good, you can be able to reach more people. 5 years, you are still in the same position. Say, God, why? God, why? Every night you're praying, God, why? What is wrong with you? Just ask God for wisdom. But find people, gather people, convince them, sell something to them, sell the idea. That's where vision comes in. Let them see what you're seeing. Tell them, hey guys, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. And bring them together. By the way, don't rush. Because you see, those people, they are also going to expect that whatever contribution they are making, they get paid for it. So don't rush and go and pick 10,000 people, especially if you don't know what you're doing. You can gradually expand. I always tell people this: if you sold to 5 people today, think of selling to 10 people. If you sell to 10, think of selling to 20. If you are able to sell to 20, then you can add one more person to the team. So, okay, now 3 people, let's consider. Then you can think of selling to 50, and think of selling to 5,000, and think of selling to 2,000, and 3, and whatever thousands that you want to sell. It is a gradual, but it builds up. The Christian must rethink work. Rethink it. Don't think of work like something that you just wake up, and some of you will go to work and go and eat heavy food, benku and fufu, and then you are sleeping. You think God sits in heaven, he's clapping for you. I can tell you one day we will stand before God and God will tell us, you know what? You are not great in the kingdom. They say, God, why? I prayed more. He says, but you served less. You served your nation less. You served your friends less. You served the people poorly. You served them poorly. Said, God, but I wasn't a pastor. Said, this is not about pastors. It has never been about pastors. It has been about excellent service. It is a hallmark in the kingdom. It's a principle in the kingdom. Anybody that serves, if you serve in God's kingdom, you will be great in God's kingdom. If you serve on earth, you will be great on earth. It's a simple principle. You serve on earth, you will be great on earth. Let me use Elon Musk, for instance. Elon Musk right now, as I talk to you now, we say that he's one of the richest people. Probably, I think he's the second richest now. The reason why he is the richest is because of the goods that he provides and the services that he provides. Right? That's exactly what he's done. And if you look at the pursuit of Elon, even when he has money and then he started this, the people ask, why is he going to space? Do you know how much they charge when they take a satellite to space? Of course, Ghana, we will not know how many, I don't even know how many satellites we have in space. But he charges money to put satellite at the front, at the mouth of the craft so that they can send them to space. That is monetization. He monetizes and then he sends these things and then he charges money. And now they've been able to put satellite and he has converted those things into what is called Starlink to be able to provide internet to everybody. And then he's charging people subscription. This is the basic concept. These people, they understand it. The problem in Ghana is that I still think we don't understand what is going on in the world. We just see people do it and then we see it and it's nice. And then we still don't know what in the name of God is going on. That's why we have a problem with our education system and then the way we provide some of these kind of things. Ghanaians love football. Why are people paying DSTV when they would have paid to go and watch something at the stadium? Because if they go to the stadium, no comfortable situation, the sun is shining way on them, and even if they are going to play the match at times that the pitch is bad, things are poor. If you come to the US, they have different sports. Say, okay, how do we entertain the people every weekend? It's okay. Well, people are tall in the US. Let's get them wherever they are. Let's get them from Greece and let's get them from Europe and let them come and play basketball. And all they are doing is to entertain people. And if people come and watch them, they pay. And because they pay, they make money and the players are paid well. It's a simple system. Of course, not that simple, but it's a simple system when you get it. So we continue to be poor because our talents are not valued. But like I said, if you're listening to me, if you don't put value on yourself, nobody will put value on you. But that is not enough. You know, talking about money in this context, sometimes people say, so do we have to chase it? No. Like I told you, the focus, Jesus says in Matthew 6, is that the devotion is not towards money. It's not that we want to get money. We want to get money because that makes no sense. But the focus is that we want to serve God. And in serving God, we serve our fellow men. So whatever we are doing, we do it with all our heart as unto God. We do it with all our heart as unto God. It doesn't matter who is watching. My boss is not watching. My boss, don't worry. Don't worry. It's not about who is watching. It's about God who is watching. God sees your service. I'm telling you the truth. God sees your service. And during the time for promotion, even if people told you, oh, well, you didn't do well, God will make sure that you are the place that your value is recognized. God is a just and faithful God. Hear me. He is a just and a faithful God. He will make sure that you are paid for that which you are putting in. Sometimes people may not even see it, but God will reward you. Mark these words. He will reward you. That's the way God works. So now, as we wrap up, what I want you to understand is this. You create the value. You create the value, and then you make sure that that value, whatever you're providing, is served to the people, is served well to the people. And the way you do that is to look for more people. Advertisement and marketing. Marketing, convince more people. Sales, sell to more people. Sell to them, whatever it is. Don't think about how small. Now, build a team and make sure what you're building is scalable. It's not one man's business forever. It's not you forever. It's scalable. Gradually, scale, grow, small, little by little. Look for them, convince them. You will never be able to do this when you stay in your room and then eat and drink and sleep. You will never be able to do that. Never. If you can write, take opportunities. The last thing I'll talk about is this. Don't also focus on one way. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's the same concept with investment. It's unfortunately, because of time, I will not be able to talk about that. But today we are just talking about money in the context of work. We'll definitely come back one day to talk about these things. Hopefully, I'll have other people who are more knowledgeable to join. But one of the things that you want to also make sure you are doing is that don't just think about what you're doing in one area. Don't do that. Of course, put in all your effort in whatever you're doing. But if it is possible for you to find a way to be able to add to what you're doing, it will help you. Because you see, if all we did was to provide one service, there are a lot of people out there that we will never be able to provide anything to. And beyond that, there are some things when it comes to security, job security, the security we have in the market, things that we have, even in today's world, that if we don't think of how to be able to, it could even be the same thing we are doing, but doing it in different ways. If we don't find how to make these things work, we will have nothing. We may have something today, but tomorrow we may have nothing. For instance, if you are playing football and then you don't take the resources that you have and make sure you are putting it in another thing, wait, by 35, you are already tired. Your energy levels are already low. And before you realize, what happens? So some of the things that we are doing today, we may not be able to do it tomorrow. So we need to always think, because the world is changing and we have to always change. And the way to do that is to learn to manage ourselves and to learn to manage the resources that we have and to learn to manage the energy that we have. One of these days we are going to talk about that. Everything has to do with energy. Do you know how the physicists, they explain or define work? They define work as energy that is transferred to an object that displaces that object. And I love that definition because I think that is really what work is. Work is the energy that you are applying to something to move it from one place to the other. That's what energy is. That's what work is. So the way I define the work I do in a day is that I always make sure that I find out what energy, which means what we call time, basically. Like what I'm doing right now, you may think, oh, 1 hour of listening to me, but it's 1 hour of energy that is going out. How I'm going to assess this is to think of the energy that I've gone out and has it achieved any purpose? That's work. That's work. That's why there are speakers that are being paid. Of course, you guys are not going to pay me, I know. But there are speakers that are being paid for sharing this same thing at places where they put value on it. So if people put value on their talent, of course, what I'm doing, not many people put value on it. So exactly, I'm not going to pay anything. Or probably I'm not charging you to do it. I could have charged money. And then those that put value on my talent would have paid to be here. Right? But of course, that's another subject for another day. But there are people that are being, and then they get money for this by speaking, by doing a recording like this and putting it on YouTube. People go back there, they watch, they get millions of views, and then they get money for it. It's a simple system. But work is the energy that you are putting to a thing to move that thing. I love that. If you think of work that way, the way the physicists define work, that's why we calculate work as force times distance. That's why they calculate work like force times distance, because force is applied to something, it moves it. So whatever work you're doing, what have your energy done to move that thing from where you started, from the point that you were to another point? That's how you should think about what you're doing. If you're doing anything, even you as an employee, you can assess whether your value is going to be worth it over time. When you begin to think of how much of energy you put into a thing and how that is moved. If you assess the contribution to it, you will know how valuable you are to the company. And you can even estimate how they are going to keep you there and how they are going to promote you. I'm telling you. If you assess your contribution and you realize that you can be in that position for 40 years, chances are that they may just keep you there, because when they assess how much your energy moves what you do, it doesn't move it anywhere. So you say, I'm working and they are not promoting me. Why would they promote you? It's a simple concept. Anyway, if you can understand some of these things, my time is up. I really wish I can be able to talk more on this particular topic. I love to talk about these things because I think this is what we need, right? And many of us, when we're able to apply some of these things, what happens when we have money is that whenever we begin to exchange it and then we have resources, money does not control us. How? Because the way we understand this is that we provide in service, and as we provide the service, we exchange the service. And don't think service must be free. I told you, even slaves are given food by their masters. Even slaves are taking care of their masters. Service does not necessarily have to be free. So the fact that you're paid for something does not mean it's no more service. It is service. It is just like anybody is doing. And for those of you who say God has called you, if God has called you, is this how you want to do his work? Will you want to sleep and drink? Is that how you want to do his work? If God has called you, will you not be devoted? Jesus himself said, no one holds the plow and turns back. And that person is worthy for the master's work. If you hold the plow, you don't turn back. If God has called you and you've responded to the call, you put in your energy every single time. Every day, assess how much energy you are putting into this. If it is souls, go. If it is writing, write. If it is singing, sing. Whatever God has given you. I will not sit here and tell you that this is what you are supposed to do, because I do not know. Because everything that you are providing may be valuable to someone, and it will be valuable, maybe valuable to other people. It depends on how you provide it. It depends on what you do. I've seen many people get money in ways like nobody thought by sitting in your house and recording can make people get so much money. But go and see YouTubers. Many of them are getting money. It doesn't mean you will get money. So if you're in Ghana, you want to be a YouTuber, assess how many people in Ghana are watching your video and the kind of content you are producing. Because if you look at the number of people in Ghana and the number of people who even have internet and the number of people that will spend hours on the internet, you can assess and be able to determine how poor or rich you will become. I'm telling you. Like, I'm not insulting you, but I'm telling you, that's the way you think about it. You can be able to assess. So, but you never know what God can. God can do everything, like I said. But it will depend on how you put in this kind of work. I will not be able to take a lot of your time, but this is all I will say for now. And I pray that this really becomes valuable to you. Rethink the way you think about work. It's about service. IT, whatever, is about service. Put in your work. Look at the energy you are putting in. Assess how it is moving what you're doing. And make sure you are finding a way to sell it to people, to reach out to them first, to convince them second, and to sell it to them third. And this is the process. Advertisement, marketing, sales. If you don't have books on them, go and buy books, read them on them. And then also learn how to build a team, because the team is what will drive what you're doing. And make sure you train the team and build a team so that they can provide what you will provide even in your absence. And if we can do this, as we pray as believers, we will see the supply of God in our lives in ways that we have never imagined. Never. We have never imagined. Dangote started with sugar. Like I told you, the last point I made is that make sure you diversify and then get into other things. Don't just focus on just one. Started with sugar, got into other things before he realized he was into cement. If he sold sugar to every household, how much do you think he made? That's money. That's money. Even if he puts a profit of one city on that, how much do you think he made? That is money. And more people that you are able to do that will determine. There are people that sell luxury goods. They sell high things for few people. But you don't need to sell luxury goods. You can sell something at a little cost to many people. But the question is how to do it. And that's something you need to pray for wisdom to be able to figure out. I wouldn't know how God wants you to do it. And as you pray, ask God for wisdom. And when God gives you, ask God for energy, strength, and might, and put in the work. Assess it every month. You, yourself, your team. If you have people who are working with you, one of the best way to do is this. Let them account for the use of their energy when it comes to the work. How does the energy move the work that you have given them? Let them account for it. If you can do that, and if they can really account for it, and if they can let you know what they have done and what they have done, it will take whatever you're doing to a height that you have never imagined. My time is up. Thank you guys for really being here. I see a lot of comments. I will not be able to read all of that, but thank you so much. I will definitely make sure we have another episode on work. I know some amazing people that I'm going to have them on, and then we're going to have a great conversation on work and money. God bless you, and do have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.